Hello, my friends, and welcome to my name is Jenna. This is an extra special episode because I am responding to some listener requests that I do an episode about parenting. And I don't often do episodes about parenting because I have so many views about social justice and philosophy, spiritualism, mysticism that I love to talk about with you. And so parenting kind of takes a back seat. But I think it's really cool that they asked because I realized that this will actually give you some more practical tips for what I talk about with healing the home, right? A couple episodes ago, I talked about the big problem of domestic violence and escapism in the United States and how if we're ever going to have a healthy culture again, we have to have healthy homes and we have to have the resources and the governmental systemic support to do so. But while we wait for the world to catch up to, being kind humans again, I thought I would give you some practical tips about what I have learned about my own home and how to make it healthier and safer. And so what I'm going to share with you today is my personal experience, and it's coming from the perspective... Sorry, this is like right on cue, right as I'm trying to be super organized and break things down for you. An interruption comes from a kid, but you know what? I guess that's the sub lesson. This wasn't one of my, I think I have 3 bullet points that I'm going to cover. It wasn't one of my 3 bullet points, but it's something I tell you in every episode. Never wait to start your dreams, Life is not perfect. There's going to be interruptions when you're trying to do stuff, and that's why I never edit it out of the episodes. Okay, but this is coming from the perspective of a parent of 6. And when I say parent, I mean both a biological parent and I am a step parent. So I have 2 biological daughters who are 14 and 12. And then I have 2 biological sons who are 6 and 3, almost 4. And then I have twin stepdaughters who are just about to turn 13. So that's kind of the age range of my kids. And I also was a former educator, so all of the advice that I'm going to give to you today is kind of a combination of my experience as a parent of these 6 kids, but also there's a little bit of what I learned just from teaching that kind of gets pulled into some of the developmental stuff that I'm going to go over. But the 3 main bullet points that we're going to cover with this parenting advice today and is number 1, lessons are caught, not taught. That's a phrase that I got from Ed Milet, but along with it goes the saying of it's never too late to learn. So caught, not taught / never too late to learn. And then number 2, kids are individuals and so are you. That's the second part that people often forget. Kids are individuals, yes, but you are too. So I'm going to dive deeper into that. And then the third and most important point that we're going to end on today is to never underestimate your influence. Don't do that. You have a very, very powerful influence on your kids, even when it doesn't feel like it. Even when you're ready to rip your hair out and go for a 20-minute drive that turns into a 30-hour drive to another country or something. It's never too late to recognize the influence that you have. So, jumping back up to number 1 to explain that. So, the caught not taught phrase that I got from Ed Milet, and it's his idea that applies to, well, he talks about it with parenting, but also just with living kind of as a role model. And it's basically just the idea that your kids learn more from just watching you than any lecture you could ever give them. And I can speak to this as a child and as a parent because I am amazed at all the ways that I am like my father that I didn't even realize until I married Tom and he was like, okay, well, Pete's here, that's my dad. And I mean just habits, like my dad can move really quickly and he's very good at a lot of things. He's very independent, and I watched that. I admired that. As a kid, even though I didn't know that I admired it, but my dad knew how to fix a lot of things, and he would kind of just take charge and sometimes get impatient with people. And I found that I do it the same way. I've got about a 5-second attention span, patience bar. If like there's a task that needs doing and someone's not doing it fast enough, sometimes I can be like, okay, I'll just do it. And I know that's got to be really hard to live with for Tom, but I'm working on it. But here's the point. My dad never sat down and said to me, hey, Jenna, you know, I like to move really fast and I'm really good at fixing things and I have a hard time being patient with people, you know, so you should probably start embodying some of those characteristics. No, he never said that to me, but I watched him. And the positives of that are that I learned a lot about independence and just kind of doing things yourself. Some challenges with that are being patient with people and allowing them to do their process, you know. So I experienced it both as a child, but also now as a parent. I need to shut this door because a quick sidebar, I hate retired men and their lawns, okay? Since quitting my job and being outside, I have seen just how much American men obsess over this crop that they can never eat. I guess it's even technically not a crop then. It's grass. You can't eat it, especially because of all the poisonous chemicals that we pour into it to kill weeds. But I have very kind neighbors, but a lot of them are retired men, and they're constantly making noise with their weed whips and their lawn mowers. And what are those things called? They're like, they blow the grass and it's like a, I can't think of the name, but you know what I'm talking about. It's like that thing that like blows grass clippings somewhere. I don't even know where they're blowing it to, but there always has to be somebody making some sort of lawn noise. And it drives me crazy because I just want to listen to the birds and the wind and the whispers of the trees. So back to parenting. Some of this I learned as a child, but some of it now I'm learning as an adult because my kids are starting to become teenagers and I'm starting to see all of the ways that they are kind of starting to embody some of the lessons of how I live my life. And so the whole idea of it's caught not taught is, my friends, take care of yourself. And I hate the term self-care because I feel like it's what unjust, oppressive systems and workplaces do to sort of like gaslight you into thinking that you're the problem because you don't take care of yourself, when really they're not paying you a living wage, letting you go to the bathroom when you need to because you have so much work on your plate, and not really valuing you, but valuing the profit that you bring them. I hate the term self-care, but to use it in an actual caring way, what caring for yourself looks like is pursuing your interests and values even while you have kids. Because becoming who you want to be is the best lesson that you can give your kids. Do not wait until your kids are 18 to start pursuing your interests. Because I have met some parents, I've told you about this before, where like I'll ask them what they're interested in, and it's the majority of them, you know, like I'll ask them, so okay, what do you do? Like I'm getting to know people. And I try to, when I say what do you do, I'm not talking about jobs because I think we need to get away from asking that question in the US, but I'm like, well, what do you like to do for fun? And in some cases, people have just shut down. They're like, well, I don't know. There's just, you know, so much going on with the kids. I don't even know. And I don't necessarily blame them for it. That's kind of what they're conditioned to believe, is that, oh, your life can start when your kids are grown. And while we do have to make sacrifices as parents, you know, we can't sacrifice our own identities. We have to find pockets of time and ways to be ourselves and to pursue our interests. And I'm going to give you some examples of how I did that. So I was a single parent for a while, right? Some people might say, oh, you're a single parent. Well, you're going to have to wait to do anything that you want to do. And what I wanted to do was travel. That's all that I wanted to do. But I was on a limited budget and I had 2, in some cases, 3 young children. And I couldn't go and explore Ireland or I really want to see Machu Picchu in Peru. I want to see it so bad. It's one of the dreams of mine. And I obviously couldn't do a big trip like that. But here's what I could do. I could explore every nature center in Minnesota. And I did. Like, I got really good at exploring different nature centers, finding places online where there were free events. I was pressured to get a minivan, right? Because that's what a lot of people do. And this actually will go into my second point too. But I was pressured to get a minivan. And sometimes we give in to that pressure, right? Oh, people say I should get a minivan, so I guess I should get a minivan. I didn't want a minivan. And I had family members trying to justify it to me, like, well, your kids are going to have friends someday, and, you're going to be driving them to sporting events and movies, and it's so easy to have their friends just hop in the back. And what's funny is they actually had the opposite effect when they told me that, like, they were trying to persuade me to buy a minivan by telling me how convenient it was to cart my kids' friends around and have them just hop in the back. Yeah, what they actually did was spur me on to run further away from buying a minivan. Clearly, they didn't know me at all. What part of me, Jenna, gives you the impression that I want to drive my kids' friends around and have a bunch of screaming, booger-eating, chip crumb spilling, self-absorbed little monsters in the back of my car asking to play Sabrina Carpenter and turn it up with the windows down? Nope. Not for me. So I bought a hybrid. Just a cute little Ford Fusion hybrid car, right? Oh, no, sorry, can't take you. I only got 2 spots, 3 spots. But it also was good for me because better gas mileage, because that's what I wanted. That's what I needed as a parent. I needed a car with good gas mileage because I was trying to drive around and explore. I was trying to do what I could within my budget. And any time that I got extra money, from like tax returns or something like that, I would use it to take my kids out of state. I wanted to see the Grand Canyon, so I took my kids to see the Grand Canyon and the Phoenix Zoo and just Arizona in general. When I took my kids there for the first time, I had never been there, and I fell in love with it. It's a beautiful state. And so don't wait to pursue your interests. There's always a way for you to find, what you want to do. Don't put off your dreams and your goals until you are 50. Do it while you can, because what happens is then you're kind of just living only for someone else, and that doesn't do your kids any favors, because whether or not you realize it, if you are living a life where you're not pursuing your own interests and goals, you kind of become bitter or quiet. You lose yourself. You lose your voice to a certain extent. And your kids need to see you healthy. And healthy does not mean perfect, okay? Because I'm going to get into that too. Healthy does not mean perfect. Healthy means you are giving yourself the gift of your own identity and your own interests. And there's lots of ways to do this. It doesn't have to just be travel. I also love to dance. But I don't have time or money to go join some traveling dance group or to do it at one of the fancy dance studios. So I did it at the YMCA and found a class that I loved. And so don't give up either. If there's a hobby that you want to pursue and it doesn't work right away, don't just say, oh, I tried it, it wasn't for me, whatever. Because it took me trying out a few different classes and going for a while to really get into it. And now I've been going to the same dance class for 5 years, almost 6 years. And it's one of the best parts of my day, and it helps keep me in shape. So when it comes to being a parent, the best thing you can do for your kids is live an example of a healthy life. And yes, that means making time for your interests, but it also means recognizing when you need help. It means recognizing when you need some therapy, or when maybe you need to start journaling or taking 5 extra minutes in the bathroom to meditate. All those minutes add up. And as I'm starting to see in my oldest daughter, because I've made a lot of changes in the last few years, in that I'm eating healthier, I dance regularly, I am involved in a spirituality now that I connect with, that's making me feel more confident. Well, now I see my oldest daughter doing some of those same things. She journals, she meditates. She's telling me this summer how she's gonna run every morning to prepare for volleyball tryouts. She has such an amazing drive. I'm so impressed with her. And it's her, but it's also something she's learned from me because I'm intense. I don't let things hold me back. I don't make excuses. I don't let obstacles stop me. I find a way. And she's learning that by watching me. She's also learning that sometimes we need to watch our mouth because we're both very intense people. And I'm really glad she has that intensity because it gives her strength and confidence. But she's also, along with me, learning how to keep that in balance, know when to back off, know when to roar, know when to back off. So we're learning together, right? And the final thing that I'm going to say in this category about caught, not taught, and this is the heavier part of it, is that, there were times that I regret as a parent. Maybe if I was dating a loser, I have a lot of shame about like bringing that loser around my kids, or some of the escapist things where it was like for a while I was drinking a glass of wine almost every night, and it was just to kind of forget about it. It was numbing, and then I would feel awful the next day. I regret doing some of those things like when I was a parent and numbing in that way. But the way that and I was just moving faster. Like I hadn't had access to the spirituality that I have access to now. I didn't have access to that knowledge about learning about gratitude, learning how to slow down, learning how to appreciate the little things because I was trying to survive. I was a single parent on a single income and I had to make it work. So I just moved fast. So sometimes I look back on that and I'm ashamed of those years. It's kind of like, in my mind I go, maybe my kids can just forget those years, from like ages 7 to 11. Maybe they can just block that out because that was not a good time for me. But there were lots of ways where that was a good time for me, right? That's also when I bought my own home on my own again. I also was teaching my daughters independence, right? How to support yourself no matter what you're going through. I taught my daughters how to walk away from bad relationships. Yeah, I wouldn't get into those relationships again, but instead of just looking at my past as, okay, that guy was a loser, it's like, yeah, and they saw me leave that loser. Meaning, again, it's not like you want to create instability for your kids, but they do see that you don't have to stick with something just because. Because kids learn that too. Kids watch their parents. If you're staying in a relationship that is killing you from the inside out, you're teaching your child to do the same thing. And in the long run, that doesn't do them any favors. So I absolutely agree with Ed Milet's phrase of caught, not taught. Our kids learn by watching us. And a lot of it is subconscious, right? They don't know that they're learning. And that's the part that I learned about as an adult. It's like, holy shit, I am just like my dad. I didn't know, but as I was a kid, I was absorbing all of these lessons, that I didn't know that I was absorbing. And now here they're coming out of me as an adult. And so really, the best thing you can do is take care of yourself. And that doesn't mean being perfect. That means pursuing who you are. That means living vulnerably and honestly. And not trying to be perfect, but trying to be you. And teaching your kids to do the same thing. How many of us have ended up in shitty marriages or shitty jobs or a shitty living situation or a shitty state, whatever it is, because we were doing what we thought we were supposed to do. We were living a life that wasn't ours. We were trying to fit expectations that were not our expectations. And now we're on the other side of debt from a divorce, of having kids with the wrong person, of having to rebuild our identities. The best thing that you can do is teach your kids to get to know themselves and to pursue who they are. And the careers and the relationships and the hobbies that feed their soul. So learn with them. Put some expectations aside. And this is where the other part of it's never too late to learn comes in. You can always learn to reconnect with your kids. Just because you may be messed up, like I'll give you an example, hugging my kids. I realized as my daughters got older, because there is something biological that happens between mothers and daughters, maybe fathers and sons, I don't know, I can't really speak to that, but between mothers and daughters, it's like when daughters hit puberty, there's this biological thing that sort of happens where it's like, yeah, I do kind of have to separate from the mother and be my own thing. And so it is a real thing sometimes that when daughters hit teenage years, they clash and they all of a sudden kind of reject the mom. There's like this stage that they go through. And when that happened, I realized like I got defensive, I got hurt, and I kind of just stopped hugging my kids. But over time, like we worked through those conflicts, right? Like we had the arguments, we talked about it, we apologized, it was a phase, that we just kind of had to go through. And then I heard somebody talking on a podcast of just the importance of, it's like, of hugging their kids. And it's like, you know what? I don't really hug my kids anymore. I'm going to start doing that again. They might be awkward at first, but like I can tell my daughters like when I hug them now. And now it's becoming more of a regular thing. And so when I say it's never too late to learn, that can be something as big as learning how to rebuild your life after a divorce, or something as or a simple like pivot of, hey, I'm not hugging my kids anymore. I should start doing that again, and just start doing it again. With their consent. If they really don't like it, don't force it. You know what I mean? But read the room and kind of, gauge whether it's something that they want. And above all else, don't live your life in shame, my friends. Find a way, again, whether it's through dream journaling or meditation therapy, find a way to process the things that you're ashamed of as a parent, because when we feel ashamed, we're not going to ever do better because we don't think we're worthy of better. Brene Brown she's done so much foundational, beautiful work on shame. So look up and perfectionism. So read Brene Brown's stuff. That's Brene. I think she has an accent over one of the E's. Brene, yep, last name Brown. Very famous sociologist. I think she's from Texas, and she's phenomenal. So start reading her books too. If you're really struggling with perfectionism and shame, read her books. They will help you. They helped me, because it's never too late to learn as a parent. Don't let the achievement-based culture of the US make you think that, just because I, wasn't really close with my kid until she was 20, I guess I messed up. Or because I was really down after my divorce, I guess I can never have a relationship with my son again. Whatever it is, it's never too late. You can always keep learning. That's what we're meant to do as human beings. We're meant to grow and learn and evolve. But there's things that kids can learn from us at every stage. So the number one piece of parenting advice I can give is just be yourself, pursue your interests. Don't wait. Take care of yourself and teach your kids to do the same, to get to know who they are. And that alone will help quite a bit. And that kind of naturally leads me into the kids are individuals and so are you. Some of the questions the listeners asked had to do with like diagnoses, for like neurodivergence or things like that. Always talk with your child's physician, to see what the best course of action is. But when it comes to kids being individuals, let them teach you who they are and follow your instincts with that kid. And to give you an example, my youngest son, my 3-year-old, when he was an infant, for whatever reason, I just always felt the need to like push my cheek up against his forehead, like really kind of nuzzle our faces. I never really felt that instinct with my other kids, but I felt it with him. I just felt like, okay, I really want to just nuzzle this baby against my face. And then sure enough, as my 3-year-old got older, he's the most like physically affectionate, cuddly kid you could imagine. And he loves his cheek being touched. And it was like my intuition as a parent was tapping into that. So it's great to, read parenting books, get advice, but at the end of the day, I encourage your intuition, because your kids are never what you expect them to be, ever, but as they grow, you have instincts as a parent. If you're like, you know what, and that actually is something I started to learn as a step parent too. Being a step parent is really hard because you're coming in halfway through the game. There's a lot to it. But with one of my stepdaughters, although I would feel awkward around her sometimes. I'd be like, shit, I don't know how to talk to her. I don't know what, I'm not the mom. I don't want to, what do it, and I was kind of like playing this awkward game of hot potato when it came to her and her emotions. But one day I just had this feeling like, okay, I'm good at talking one-on-one with people and helping them access their feelings. I'm good at recognizing people's strengths. I did that as a teacher. I'm going to actually start talking to this kid one-on-one and having some of these heart-to-hearts. It's just this feeling that I have. And I was nervous. I was scared. But I did it anyway. And sometimes I fumbled my words. And sometimes I started talking too long. And I could tell that I kind of lost her, But most of the time, I connected with her heart. And we got closer. And the talks got easier to have. And so when it comes to your child and their needs, follow your instincts. And this goes back to number 1 too, of the better that you take care of yourself and start getting in touch with your own needs, like human needs, taking care of yourself, because there's that lesson of you can't give what you're not receiving. You have to get to know yourself, your body, your mind, your spirit. And the more that you get used to taking care of your own needs, the more you can be open to understanding what other people's needs are. And just trying to listen and pay attention. Attention is a huge thing too. It's something we're losing in this world. So just pay attention to your kids. Follow your instincts. Even if you're nervous, do it anyway, Because all great things in life are rarely absent of fear and nerves. It's kind of just like the courage and the hope of it working out just barely outweigh that, So kids are individuals. Let them show you who they are. And when it comes to worrying if they have some sort of medical condition or neurodivergence, I can tell you, my oldest child is a type 1 diabetic, and I was scared shitless of her getting type 1 diabetes because I knew her dad had it. And I don't know if I manifested it because of my fears or what, or if it was going to happen anyway. But here's what I'm going to say is that I think there's a balance between keeping an eye out for something, watching for the signs and knowing what they are, but also not letting that run your life, So if you're worried about your kid inheriting something, just kind of watch and see what happens. Keep it in the back of your mind. If it makes you feel better, let their doctor know, and just try not to let it run your life, because that fear can be all-consuming, But kids surprise you, and who they are will surprise you. So the best advice I can give, whether it's about, their neurodivergency or their health or their personalities, is just keep an eye out for those things, but don't let them run your world. Just observe your child. Pay attention to them. How they play. How they talk. What they're naturally sort of drawn to. Because one thing we're learning now as adults is that our imaginations are so strong when we're kids. And your kids will show you who they are if you give them different, opportunities. And as much as you can, don't let gender play a huge role. Let your kids play with lots of different kind of toys. Let them play with unicorns if they want to play with unicorns. Let them play with a football. Whatever it is, give your kids options. Don't say, you have to do this because you're this gender, or you have to do that because you're that. Let them show you. And let them be. Don't force, expectations. And you're an individual too. When you're a new parent, there's lots of pressure sometimes to join a certain parenting group or to do this particular preschool. If you join a parenting group and you're finding that your values just aren't aligning, don't feel like you have to push through. Give it a chance. You know what I mean? Don't dismiss someone just because you have a disagreement or something. But if you've been going for a while and you feel like, oh, this just isn't for me, then don't be afraid to pivot, to look somewhere else, you know? And it doesn't have to be a group. Like, those are great, but like I said, you're an individual too. Your partner's an individual too. So maybe the parenting groups just aren't for you. Maybe you do better just kind of, you know, parenting one-on-one, and maybe, you know, once a week you do a music class or something. But don't feel like you have to join a particular group or do a particular preschool just because that's what people do. Pay attention to your values and see, you know, what feels right. And don't feel like you have to do something just because. And again, while you're parenting, I can't stress this enough, find pockets of time that are just yours. Whether it's eating a Snicker bar, you know, alone in your room, or journaling for 5 times a day and all that. Just find that time. So kids are individuals, so are you. The best advice I can give is let your kids show you who they are. Give them different options. If you're worried about a particular medical situation, don't let it run your life or assume that it's going to happen just because of genetics. You know, just keep it in the back of your mind. Mention it to your child's doctor and try your best to just watch who your child is. Because again, they're never, you know, who you expect. And so my third and final point, and this one is really, really important. Don't underestimate your influence on your kids. Okay, so I have to cover a couple things with this. First of all, don't be afraid of your feelings. I'm somebody who gets really upset when I'm upset. I don't like to be angry. I don't like to be annoyed. I don't like to let things get under my skin. But it happens, especially when you blend families. You're getting used to, you know, kids that you didn't raise from the beginning. You're getting used to kids who have other sides that they have values from that maybe don't match yours. You're getting used to being, you know, once you were a single parent, now you have a partner and you're both parenting kids you had, in some cases, kids you had together and kids you didn't, and you're doing it all at once. So let yourself feel, especially when it comes to step parenting. And I'm not just speaking about myself. I'm speaking on behalf of step parents that I know. There's a huge pressure, I think, again, because of movies to just take the kid in as your own and everything's happy and you were the mom they never had. Or maybe you bond, or you see people posting on social media about how great their co-parenting relationship is or how much they love their kid's stepmom. Number one, I don't really buy that, you know, because if they're posting it on social media, how real is it? But don't compare yourself to the stuff that you see out there. If you're pissed, if you're annoyed, if you're having a hard time adjusting, don't push that down because it will only build resentment. And this goes for your biological kids too. Like, if you're angry at your kid, if you're frustrated with how they're acting, don't bury it. Don't try to pretend it's not happening, and don't shame yourself for it. We feel how we feel for a reason. And it's something, even when it doesn't feel good, that we have to work through. My husband and I are still learning this, you know, especially me, like how to express when we're frustrated with the kids. And I get really nervous, I get uncomfortable, but I do it anyway because I've learned that if I don't tell him, or in some cases, especially when it comes to disciplining stepkids, I hate it because I'm like, oh, I don't know how to, can I do this? You know, I have to just do it and be direct, because if I don't, I build resentment. So let yourself feel what you feel, do uncomfortable things. And when I say let yourself feel how you feel, I mean find a healthy outlet for it, right? Because we can't tell our kids everything we feel, because all humans have negative passing thoughts, and not every thought and feeling needs to be said, right? So find an outlet for it. Have a private journal that you keep locked or password protected where you can get some of it out, or, you know, give yourself some, be gentle with yourself and acknowledge that you're learning and that they're learning. And oftentimes I find and communicate with your partner, even if it's awkward, even if it results in a fight, it's so much better to talk about it than to bury it, because what happens then is slow resentment towards your partner and towards the kids. And you're not going to just not feel awkward after one day. I still feel awkward after years of a blended family. I still get nervous, but I do it anyway. And it is slowly getting better every time. You learn, and you've got to allow yourself to learn, both as a step parent and both as a parent. So don't try to bury your feelings. Journal about them. Communicate them to your partner. Be willing to learn about how you communicate, right? Because the way we say things is always, you know, something that we need to learn. And what I have found is that even though it doesn't feel good in the moment to express my frustrations, when I've just had enough and I want to give up, and I communicate that I want to give up, usually the next day is when I have more energy to try again. So sometimes just saying out loud, I want to give up, even though that can be scary to say and hear, it doesn't mean you're actually going to give up. It just means you're really struggling. And sometimes just saying it out loud is what you needed to get the energy to try again. Because I've had lots of hard feelings about biological parenting, step parenting, all of it. Because it's hard, my friends. It's exhausting. So all of these things that I'm giving you advice to do, please know that it's coming from a place of like, I know how hard you're working, and you're doing fantastic. You're sleep deprived. You're working paycheck to paycheck. You're still trying to put some carrots on the plate to get some vegetables. Congrats if you can actually get the broccoli too. You know what? It's a good night in my house when I actually have the energy to thaw the broccoli. Sprinkle some salt on it for some butter on some for another kid, and instead of just throwing the carrot sticks on the plate, it's a good night when I can get the broccoli on the plate. But you know what? Some nights your kids just need to eat cereal. So the thing is, you are doing fantastic, and all of this advice is just meant to help. And so don't think that it's like, well, you need to do this. I'm just telling you what's helped me. And parenting is exhausting. It's hard. You have to do it when sleep deprived and hungry, and it's hard. But don't ever underestimate your influence. And this is what I'm so just to kind of wrap up my other point though, let your feelings out. Find healthy ways so you're not just taking it out on the kids, find healthy ways to communicate it to your partner, journal about it, go to therapy about it, whatever you need to do. Because every time I've had a difficult conversation and I've just said out loud what my struggles are, usually it's right after that I have the energy to try again. Because although our feelings are important, we're not our feelings. We have a deeper drive that's tied to our values. And my values for my kids, my stepkids, and my husband are compassion and resilient love. And being a good parent takes resiliency. It takes love. And that is stronger than anything I feel in the moment. Because I've had some really hard times. I've had some really hard conversations. But beneath all of my most angry, sad, broken-hearted moments is this deep, resilient, compassionate love. And I am a better parent to all my kids for it. Because one gift of a blended family is that you get to see, you get to learn to be a better parent to all of your kids. Because
Skittles. Can I have Skittles?
You can have Skittles. as soon as I'm done with my work. I'm not quite done yet. In case you couldn't hear that, he said, "Oh, stop working," as he like hunch stomped away. You know when kids sink their shoulders and they're like, you can just, anyway. It's fresh off the cuff of bribing my kid. I'm a better parent now. But honestly, I am, because when you're a single parent, and sometimes if you've been parenting with the same person your whole life, you don't necessarily know about the habits that you've developed that maybe aren't so great for yourself or your kids. And so one really cool thing about blending families, it doesn't feel cool in the moment, but is you learn your habits. You recognize where maybe as a single parent you were just giving your kid, this was the case for one of my kids, like they were obsessed with yogurt, and I would always give them yogurt every time they would whine, because I would just want the whining to stop so that I could get to the rest of my business. And so sorry, just my son is interrupting. One moment. Okay, I need a couple more minutes, buddy.
Like that.
Okay. I didn't realize how much that I was just kind of giving my child what he wanted without, just because he would whine, because it was like I didn't have time to address the whining because I was too busy working or getting dinner for it's like it's not, anybody's fault. It's like we just get into habits and we don't know that we're doing them. So one gift of co-parenting, although it's a gift that comes in the package of arguments and annoyance, but on the other side, to very grounded parents who have all these strengths that they're bringing to the table, is you learn about habits that you had and can maybe adjust, because you have to, because it's being called out, because you're with someone who you haven't always been with, or whatever it might be. So on that note, don't underestimate your influence. And I can't stress this enough. I get really frustrated as a parent because I feel, and we can all relate to this, you wonder if all the love, all the hard work, all the teaching moments, all the care that you're putting in, if it even goes somewhere. Because if there's one thing that kids are, it's frequently not grateful. But in general, human beings don't always react the way that we think they're going to, right? That's where that achievement-based culture comes in again. Of, well, I did XYZ for you, now I'm expecting you to react this way. Or I did ABC, so I'm expecting a C response. When maybe you're getting some weird ass like F and a half. Yeah, that's right. I added a fraction to a letter because that's often what it is in parenting. You don't even know what the fuck and a half you just got back. That's what it is. But I have gotten frustrated a lot as a parent because it's like, does anything I do even matter? And it does. Every action, every example that you set matters. People just don't always know how to show you that, or you don't always see the immediate result. But what you're doing is you're planting seeds. You're planting seeds. You are growing a human. And I know that might sound like a cheesy metaphor, but yep, one more minute. But it's true. And this is something I actually have to remind myself every day, because I say this to you now, but tomorrow I'll be like, fuck, none of it matters. Nobody, yep, one more. Doesn't matter what I do. There's too much coming against me, or there's too much that's different than me. And I feel this way a lot as a step parent, but even as a parent, when I feel like I can't get through to my kids, I feel like it's for nothing. I feel like I'm just talking to a wall. Sometimes I want to hear more of their feelings and they just can't tell me, or whatever it is. And it's like, why do I even bother? Caught not taught is a real thing. The way that you live your life and the seeds you plant, they are in there. They are in their hearts. People just often don't know how to express in the moment the impact that you're having. And sometimes they don't know, sometimes it's like they're learning, but they don't know that they're learning. Think about it this way. We often don't realize until we're adults that we're a lot like our parents, right? That's kind of how I began this episode of explaining that I didn't realize how much I was like my dad till I was just like my dad. The same thing's happening for your kids right now. They are learning from you. They are watching you. They are learning from you. They are watching you. And you have to keep your eye out for the little moments where you can see the impact that you've had on them. With all my kids, biological and step kids included, I've noticed that they've put interesting things on their walls. Like teenagers, you can tell a lot from what they put on their walls. And they're starting to put up sentimental things from games we've played or things that I've written for them. Whether it's just a little post-it saying Happy Valentine's Day, I love you, or an actual poem or something. My kids are starting to put things on the walls. And let yourself feel those moments. My 6-year-old son made me a rainbow friendship bracelet at school. You know, he only had the time and resources to make 2, and he chose to give me the other one. Stop and let yourself feel those moments. Because it would be some bullshit if we have to wait till our kids are adults to see the impact that we have. And to some extent, that's kind of the reality. But in the meantime, they give us these gifts where they show us. And this is where the resilience and compassion and strength comes in as parents, is we have to believe that what we're doing every day matters, even if we don't get the result we want or the reaction that we want. And I promise you, this is one of the hardest things for me as a parent. I will get frustrated about this tomorrow, but I keep trying anyway. And that's the difference. You don't have to dismiss your frustration. You don't have to feel guilty about being frustrated. You can take some space for a little while if you need to. If you just feel like you're burning out with how hard you're trying, just take some space. And when you're ready, try again. But don't underestimate your influence. I promise you, the impact that you are having is planting seeds. And one day you are going to see the full effect of it, and you're going to go, wow. I did that. I helped that child get there. And so I want to end this on a very, profound, exciting, happy note. But as you can hear, my child is screaming in the background and is probably going to be entering this very room at this very moment. But that's life. And I'm here to do it with you. And I'm so grateful for those of you who wrote in and made these requests that challenged me in a way I needed to be challenged in. And I'm always, open to requests. I may not get to them all, but if you want me to cover a particular topic, email me, jdill@lovingcreatively.com. You can click on my website and it'll take you, right to my email link too. I always put my website in the show notes. And please, please, please share my podcast if it's helpful to you. I'm always looking to reach more people. But in the meantime, thanks for coming.